So in January of 2024, things started to get worse in the sense that she started yelling at me. And an example of that would be a week before January 4th, the owner had instructed me to put the meatballs in at a later time. So when I would come in the mornings, I would do my prep and then wait until about 10 o'clock in the morning to put the meatballs in per the owner's request. So on January 4th, the store manager asked me why I was putting the meatballs in at a later time. And I told her what the owner said. She then proceeded to call me a liar and say that she knew for a fact that the owner did not tell me to put the meatballs in at a later time. So I said to her, no, he did tell me, and she interrupted me and said, I know he did not tell you to do that. And she didn't care to hear anything that I had to say. So when she was done with her angry rant, I said to her, talk to George. When I told her to talk to the owner, she got angry. She got very confrontational, hostile, and aggressive. She put her hand on the table. She put this hand on her hip. And she looked at me and she said to me, if you don't want to put the meatballs in at 8:30, then put them in at 9:30. I'm telling you to put the meatballs in at 9:30 and I will talk to George. And she was raising her voice at me as she was saying that. I immediately, right then and there, text the owner, and I'm going to put it right here what I said to him so that you guys can read it for yourselves. And I made it clear to the owner in that text message that if she came in the next day with that same condescending, hostile, and awful attitude, that I was going to grab my belongings and excuse myself for the day. Because that was so disrespectful. That was so disrespectful and that was so rude. So on January 26th, the store manager and we got into a really huge fight. Like, it was huge. Like, we were screaming at each other, yelling at each other, because that day I had enough. I was like, enough is enough. I had enough. And that was the day that I finally stood up for myself. So that day she came into work like she always did, angry, upset, in a bad mood, using profanity, slamming things, and she wanted to heavily micromanage me, bark orders, and when she spoke to me, she was very demanding, and she wanted me to stop what I was doing right then and there and do what she wanted me to do, like I was a 2-year-old. So I told her that her behavior and her treatment towards me was unacceptable and it was not okay, and that she was making me very uncomfortable. And she got angry and she got confrontational and she started to verbally attack me. So I took off my visor. I went to my locker. I put my visor in my locker. I grabbed my purse. I finished putting labels on the bins. I put all the food away. And then I said to her, okay, Kristen, I'll see you tomorrow. She then proceeded to threaten my job. And she told me that if I left, that she would take it as me quitting. So I stopped dead in my tracks and I looked at her and I told her that I do not come to work to be mistreated, to be abused, or to deal with her bad moods. So we got into an argument and I just kept reinstating to her that I do not come to work to be mistreated, to be abused, or to deal with her bad moods. That's not what I come to work for. I come to work to work. After that argument, she became super friendly, super nice, super sweet towards me, and she used her manners and started to say please and thank you. Oh, I almost forgot. After I texted the owner about that whole meatball situation, he showed up the next day. And when she came into work, she was very quiet, didn't say anything, didn't bother me, and she put the meatballs in at 10 o'clock. Now let's fast forward. After that whole argument, I had about 2-3 weeks worth of peace and being left alone. And then she switched up again and she started up all over again. And I'm going to get into it in my next video. Mwah.